Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. This is going to be a great one. I have been looking forward, as I always am when I have Maxwell Bentley in my sights, to welcome Maxwell back to North Fulton Business Radio. He is a well-known video production authority, and we've got a lot to talk about with Maxwell. But before we get to him, I want to remind you that we are broadcasting from inside Renaissance Bank in beautiful Alpharetta. And if you are tired of that mega bank experience, and if you're at one of those banks, you know what I'm talking about. They have computer-generated voices that would just love to serve you, and that's the only thing you can reach at those banks. But if you want a bank that deals with you in a personal way and yet is big enough to handle pretty much any need you can throw at them, and that's what I hear from folks that I refer to Renaissance, then go to renaissancebank.com, find one of their local offices, check them out, and give them a call. I think you'll be glad you did. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome Maxwell Bentley. Again, Maxwell is the founder. He's the chief storyteller of Bentley Media. Maxwell, welcome back.
John, it's great to be back. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Always great to have you. And let's talk, for those that don't know you, let's talk about you and your work and how you're serving folks out there.
Sure. 10 years ago, I launched my video production business, Bentley Media, out into the world. I was a videographer with very little business acumen. I just knew I was good at making video, and I had folks who wanted to hire me to do. And then over the years, I discovered that through working with different types of video projects, everything from promotional videos to weddings to the occasional music video, I discovered that I delivered more value to my clients on the marketing side more than any other category. And so over the years, I've gone all in on it. And now I am all about helping entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, trailblazers, self-starters show up authentically and confidently on camera and share the amazing and often unheard stories that they have from their brand, and in such a way that they attract their dream customers online. And we help them do that through one of the most powerful forms of marketing currently available, and that's video. And video has been my love since I was 6 years old. I picked up my mother's video camera back when cameras had videotapes and never gave it back. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening. It's in my office if you need it. And ended up creating a YouTube channel back in 2007 at the age of 13.
Oh, wow.
And
that's a little fact I didn't know about you.
Yes. And I ended up going viral on YouTube.
Did you?
Yes. I was creating videos about a game called Roblox.
I'm quite familiar. I've got a young one that I'm hang out with that he loves Roblox.
Yes.
Interesting.
Both YouTube and Roblox were new at that time.
Oh, wow.
And so I was creating, if you've ever seen the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes.
Where they bring animated characters into the real world, I was taking Roblox characters and bringing them into my real world.
Oh, wow.
And creating little videos about misadventures and trying to be funny. And I had a video get 2.5 million views online. And Roblox caught wind of it. And when I was 17, they reached out to me and asked me to create content for them. And they became my first client at 17. And that was a lot of fun.
So this is a business lesson. There are a number of business lessons. Parents, don't take the video camera away from the kid. But the other one is, instead of getting your lawyer to send a cease and desist letter, how about getting them to work for you?
Yeah. Listen, if you can't make it, if you can't, what's the saying? If you can't something, work with them.
Yeah. Turn your so-called enemy into your friend, right? That's really what we're talking about. Instead of looking at it adversarially, partner.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
So I felt like I had the coolest gig in the world At the time, I had more disposable income at 17 probably than I ever had in my life because I didn't have mortgage. It was all the adult grown-up stuff. I was about ready to retire at one point. I'm like, I don't need high school. I don't need college. Like, I just want to do this. And by the time their new iPhone came out back in, I guess about 10 years ago or so, they, maybe a little bit sooner, they asked me to edit a trailer for it, and which I did. And that ended up getting over 100 million views online, at least that I could track. And when that happened, that drove just millions of downloads and registrations for the app. And when that happened, I said, okay, there's something here.
Right.
I would like to expand and offer this to more people. And I've been at it for the last 10 years, and I just get to wake up every day and do what I love. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Congratulations on that, because so many businesses don't make it past a year or two. And to be 10 years in business, and can I say you just turned 30?
Sure.
Okay.
I wear it like a badge of honor.
I love it. Congratulations on that. That's just awesome.
Thank you.
On your success.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to get into, though, just a couple of things you said about why video is so important. And I think maybe people agree with this intellectually, but they don't know why. So let's talk about video marketing as a general proposition and why it is vital for thought leaders.
Let's take it back a few hundred years. Let's go back to the 1600s, when everybody was reading the newspaper. That's where the attention was. For a couple hundred years, people were walking around, their faces were buried in newspapers. And then the radio cometh.
Yes, right.
Families would gather in the living room and listen to the radio. And then the television came around, and people would be glued to the television. That's where the attention was. And they created TV dinners, and so that families could gather and watch television. Now, for better or for worse, we are carrying around devices that have access to the totality of human intelligence in our pocket. We sometimes use it for that purpose. We sometimes use it to look at cat memes and jokes and what the younger kids would call brain rot content. But for better or worse, it's where the attention is. People are glued to our devices. We're glued to our phones. And with the advent of platforms like TikTok, we are seeing that short form video content is being consumed so much, and it's being consumed so rapidly that it's where the attention is. And for those who say, oh, I just don't want to do this social media thing, I just don't want to do this video thing, it's like you've got this pond full of trout, and you're deciding, I'm going to go to the pond that doesn't have any fish, and I'm going to go fish there.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Maxwell, the idea that, yes, video is getting consumed at a high rate on TikTok, but they think that applies only to cat memes and the latest perfume or some sort of recipe that you're fixing, what have you. And it doesn't apply to thought leaders, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs that have an expertise business. So let's talk about that piece of it.
Sure. You bring up a valid point. Content that is contextualized to go viral tends to go viral. And you're talking about the cats running around doing crazy things. And there's all kinds of videos, explosions, car accidents, police videos. There's all kinds of things that go viral. But what is often underrated are folks who might be listening who are service-based entrepreneurs, who are thought leaders, who are experts, who have knowledge, wisdom, and experience to share, can still find value by sharing their content online. They may not see the millions and billions of views that SpongeBob gets, like SpongeBob videos get. But if you harness a platform like LinkedIn, where your audience is already spending time and you tap into their new video features, even if you only get, now think about this. If you upload a video that's a minute or two long and it gets 100 views, those are the people who are swimming towards you. Those are the people who are listening, who are finding you. Now think about how much time it takes for you to have 100 one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Several hours.
Right. And some of those people aren't necessarily swimming to you, right? You might be swimming after them.
So I'll tell you a short story. I put out a couple of vertical style short videos on LinkedIn in the previous weeks to promote my masterclass that was on Monday. And the videos themselves only got a couple of hundred views, and they got maybe 10 or 15 likes and a couple of comments. I did sell a seat to my masterclass through LinkedIn, by the way. So the stuff does, what we're talking about here works.
Right.
But I ended up going to a virtual networking group, and there was one person I knew, Bonnie Malden, on the call, and there were a couple of folks that I did not know. And one of the folks on the call actually saw one of the videos that I had shared, and she said, "Yeah, I just saw you," and I'm like, she said she felt like she needed to get to know me, and video marketing works when you're not around. And that's one of the most powerful aspects of it.
Right.
It's always representing you. It's taking your personality and it's taking what you have to offer, and it's making you able to be replicated and scaled in some sense, and allowing lots of folks to get to know you and build a relationship with you without you necessarily even knowing that they exist. And if you provide enough video content out there, folks are going to be building relationships with you. And by the time they're ready to work with you, they're going to be predetermined. They're going to call you and say, "Hey, I love your content. I would like to talk about doing something with you." And the buyer's journey becomes shorter for you because they already come to the table with a strong sense of trust.
Okay, but let's talk to those folks, which there are literally millions of them, who say, "Max, that's great. You've been doing it 10 years. It's easy for you to say you're used to being on camera. I'm not. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. I'm not at all convinced that this is going to work for me, that video marketing will work for me." What do you say to that person?
First of all, your feelings are absolutely valid. We as humans have not evolved to a point where going on camera is natural. However, we are being surrounded by cameras more now than any other time in history. With the advent of Zoom, we are having Zoom calls, we are FaceTiming, that's just part of the culture now. And it was so here's what's interesting. Making videos as a teenager, I didn't have the camera shyness that I did making videos at 20 years old for my business. It's a completely different game, because when I was young, it was just, I'm just going to be silly. I'm just going to have fun. I don't really care what people think. And how crazy is this? I used to get panic attacks creating videos of myself to promote my business. And I'm the video guy. I grew up around cameras. And it was hard for me. It would sometimes take me 100 takes to put some of my first videos of myself out there. And so I get it. I understand it is not easy. It is hard. And over the past couple of years, I've had over 100 hours of media training that have gotten me ready for TV and for radio, things like this. And that has been helpful in my own videos. But there are a few golden nuggets that I've taken from working with some of the world's best media coaches that I pass along to my clients, to my private clients. I pass along in my book and in my masterclass, and I also love to pass along on shows like this. There are a few things. One, your message is more important than your looks. You have wisdom to share. You have knowledge to share. You have expertise to share. And there is a whole audience of people out there who are waiting to hear from you. Now, some of you might be thinking, I do have expertise to share, but so-and-so is already creating content and they're doing it so much better. Consider this. If you took one idea and gave that idea to 5 different people, all 5 of them would convey that idea over video in their own style, with their own words, with their own perspective, their own biases, everything. And they would attract 5 different audiences.
Yeah.
And so you have a message to share, you have expertise, and overcoming the camera shyness is a matter of taking action in spite of the fear. I will suggest that you don't necessarily need on-camera training to get started. If you have the ability to have a conversation with somebody that you know or go on a podcast like this, like Business RadioX, if we were to set up a camera and let's say the camera was pointed at me and I was a guest on your show, you don't need camera training. I don't need camera training to have a conversation with you on this show. I'm not going to be looking into the camera. I'm not going to be thinking like, okay, I need to come up with all these little sound bites. You, John, are prompting me and I am responding. And you can take that footage, slice that into short videos to put on social media. And you don't need camera training to do that. You don't need to be, quote unquote, good on camera. You just have to have a message. And the more that you see yourself on video, I know a lot of people cringe when they see themselves on video or they hear a video back of themselves. And that's just a matter, unfortunately, the self-consciousness will never go away. And sometimes the cringe factor will never go away, but it becomes manageable. When you get used to seeing yourself, just like you wake up and you see yourself in the mirror, you get used to seeing how you look on video and over how you sound over the radio. And that's just a matter of practice. And if you can overcome that, you will stand out amongst your peers as somebody who is creating content.
If I can add to that, just for me, and when I talk to guests, for example, and they say, I hate the way I sound. And what I always say is that it doesn't really matter what you think. It matters what others think. And if you don't like the way you sound, don't listen to it or don't watch it. Because the truth of the matter is you're going to have people that watch it, listen, what have you, and they're going to like it.
That's right.
And that's all you care about, right?
I've had thoughts before, oh, maybe am I talking too slowly? Am I talking too quickly? What about, I have one eye that might be squinting more than the other eye.
What about my Southern accent?
Right. Sometimes I have a little Southern drawl come out. And the things that we think about as humans, about ourselves, we would never say to our best friend.
Yeah.
And so not to sound like an episode of Dr. Phil, but we do owe it to ourselves to turn down the inner critic and turn up the inner mentor and say, you know what? I've got a damn good story to tell. And I've got some amazing advice to share. And I've got folks who need to hear from me. There's folks who I feel called to serve. And video happens to be a way, a powerful way to reach them.
Yes. Folks, we're here chatting with Maxwell Bentley. Maxwell is the founder, the CEO, owner of Bentley Media Group. Maxwell, so let's talk about those folks that you just can't pull into the boat, that they don't want to go on video. They're never going to do it. Is all hope lost for them?
It's not. You would be surprised at how many people might be willing to go on camera for you. And that is in the form of a video testimonial. And that's actually an incredibly easy way to dip into video marketing without putting yourself on camera at all. And it's one of those things that builds trust, builds credibility, it builds authority.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have these video testimonials, you're able to share them on social media. You're able to share them on your website. And what's interesting is if you have lots of them, you can create a gallery on your website. And John, you and I were talking about this just before the show started.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I look at a new website or a landing page or a service provider I'm not familiar with, I'll scroll on their website and I'll see the video testimonials there. I may not watch them. I may not watch one all the way through, but I still see them. And that makes a difference. It makes a difference in perception. And a good way to know, okay, like how do I ask for something like that? A good trigger is when you hear a client say, wow. When you finish the deliverable, when they see some result, they get some North Star, ROS metric, whatever their KPI, whatever is a win for them, and they tell you about it. Wow, John, ever since I started working with you and I started thinking about my pricing and value differently, the average order value has gone up, the profitability has gone up. And that's a moment for you to say, wow, I'm so glad to hear that. Would you mind sharing that in a testimonial form so that I can help find more people like you who need the same kind of help? And you'd be surprised at how many people are willing to say yes to that.
Yeah, and what you're getting at here, I think, is people, when you ask them to help you, they will get over their camera shyness, if they have that, to help you. And sometimes they're not even doing their own videos, right? It's amazing how that works because people want to help.
That's right. Another good opportunity to ask for testimonials is if you host events. Especially events that are in the evening and serve a little bit of alcohol. Because inhibitions are a little bit lower, and also, but that's just a small part of that.
Yes.
When you host an event or you're at an event, everybody is socially tuned in.
Right.
Like everybody's warm, the energy level's high, and it's a great opportunity to step aside somewhere and capture that energy of that moment.
Right. Even the teetotalers are in a good mood, right?
That's right.
And lively. Yeah. It's not just the lubrication, although that helps.
That's right. The social.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned, I want to come back to something you mentioned about LinkedIn. For those that aren't familiar with as you call them, the TikTok style videos. So let's talk about, when did those get introduced?
This was a few months back.
Okay.
And I remember seeing it and hearing it that LinkedIn was rolling out short form vertical content. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with vertical content, it's where you're holding your phone upright and you're on a platform like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and you're watching videos that are vertical, that are up and down, and you swipe to watch the next one. That's called a vertical short. And when I first heard that LinkedIn was rolling out this functionality, truthfully, I got scared. I was like, okay, what kind of video content are people on LinkedIn going to be putting out? Are we going to be seeing some of the same type of content that we see on TikTok? Are we going to see people in their offices dancing on top of their desks? Are we going to see these videos that are, get ready for my work meeting with me, come quit my job with me? Like, what kind of content are we going to be seeing? And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised as I started observing the types of content that people were putting out. And sure, some of it is silly, but what seems to be working right now, especially on LinkedIn, is messy, imperfect content. Selfie videos that share a story, moments of motivation, moments of triumph, success stories that are shot on your phone with a selfie in the form of a selfie video, which if you've got one in your pocket, you've got a phone in your pocket, and you've got a personality and your heart, and you've got the expertise to share, you've got all the components to do it. It just seems 90% of the time there's some emotional or mental blockage that just stops folks from doing so. But assuming we can get past that, and there's baby steps we can take to get past that, when you start sharing those videos on LinkedIn, it's a great way to expand your influence and expand your reach.
Mm. So you recommend it and what, before we get to that, you're impressed with the quality of what you've seen on LinkedIn.
I'm impressed with I don't know if I describe it as quality, but I'm impressed with how it's being utilized and how people are harnessing it to share caught in the wild moments of their professional life.
So is that, what of what you have seen do you endorse in terms of the effectiveness of it?
Selfie videos are actually some of the most underrated forms of video marketing. Mm. And they are a form of video marketing. It's a form of putting yourself out there and your message out there in a unique way. Here's what's interesting. Any sort of video production or video marketing, there is a continuum of quality, or another way to think of it would be production value. The lower the quality or the lower the production value, the more authentic a video comes across. Mm. The higher the production value, the higher the quality, the more authoritative a brand comes across. And in my perspective, observing the evolving landscape of marketing and advertising over the past couple of decades, it's important for businesses and people to have both, to be active creating that so-called messy and perfect content on social media. But by the time their audience sees their video content, they click through to their profile and they click through to their website. That is where we need to see the professional content. Where we see the nicely edited video with the high production value. Mm-hmm. And so that's the combination that, if you could describe a perfect video strategy, it would be a combination of short form videos that are being shared on social media, sometimes videos that are a little bit longer, that tell stories, that share expertise, longer form content that might live on places like YouTube, and then having content on your website that is professional and well produced. It builds trust. Mm-hmm. It builds credibility. It establishes authority. And again, it helps people build a relationship with you without you having to meet them physically in person. And that shortens the buyer's journey. It helps folks be predetermined to work with you. And I've seen it be incredibly helpful for my own efforts. I've had a lot of my clients, a lot of the folks I've helped over the years, they've seen the same results. And if we're willing to get over that emotional hump, that, oh, I don't look good, I don't sound good, if we can get past that, it's a powerful vehicle for growing your business online.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's get into AI generated video.
Oh man, how much time you got?
Not a whole lot, but not as much as we could talk about this for sure.
Oh boy.
But I guess the question there, Maxwell, is I've seen some folks use AI to generate video that is obviously fake. Maybe that's not the word, but people can pick it out for what it is. And it loses, it seems to me, some of its authenticity because of that. And then I've seen, or at least we're being told that I heard one person say, you got to get as much authentic video out as you can because you're about to get replicated. So let's talk about both of those extremes.
What's interesting is AI has been around for a long time. But when most people talk about AI today, they're talking about generative AI. the type of AI that creates video content, that creates sound, that creates text. And the challenge is the uncanny valley effect that happens when AI tries to mimic humans. They try to mimic how humans look, how humans sound, how humans write. And if you're not familiar with the term uncanny valley, it came around back when, I think it was the Polar Express movie came out.
Yes.
And it was the 3D animated people.
You could tell it was Tom Hanks barely.
It was like, it just looked off.
Yeah.
And the challenge that we're seeing right now is instead of using AI to enhance and accelerate what they're doing, some people are trying to use AI to replace themselves completely. And to your point, that loses the authenticity. When you try to replicate yourself without a really good prompt, you tempt that authenticity factor. At this point, I don't recommend using AI-generated videos of yourself to use in your front-end marketing, just because there's no human connection there, and people are going to be able to spot it.
Mm-hmm.
There are platforms that allow you to create AI avatars of yourself. There are platforms out there that can go to Zoom calls for you.
Oh, dear.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Scary to some, interesting to others. But
I've had a few meetings I'd like to send my Zoom person to.
Do an audit.
I may want to talk. Let's talk after this show.
Like, this whole Zoom call could have been an email. So there are AI tools that are extremely helpful, though. Here's an interesting statistic. About 80%, 70 to 80% of videos watched online are watched on mute with the sound turned off. There's an AI platform called Captions that can add on-screen subtitles to your video to increase engagement, increase accessibility, and reach the folks who might be watching. They're, I don't know, in a business meeting.
Yeah.
Or they're in the bathroom. They're in a public bathroom. They're, God forbid, they're in traffic. I don't know. So that's one example. Another example that we've seen that we've actually used is we were producing a marketing video for a company called Aprio. And one of their executives we had them on video, and it came back that they said something out of order during the interview. They said something that was just slightly off. And they were concerned, like, oh no, are we going to have to reshoot this? We're going to have to book that executive's time. And what are we going to do? How much is this going to cost to fix? And I said, with your permission, we can use AI to create a voice model and replicate the sound of his voice in the interview, punch in the correct sentence, and then splice that in. And then we'll delete the voice model after we're finished. And I sent this email right as AI was just starting to become a buzzword.
Right.
People didn't really know what to think of it, what to do with it. And so I felt my heart rate go up a little bit when I sent that email. As I'm like, I wonder what people are going to think of this. And then at the same time, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to increase my cybersecurity insurance. I need to look at my liability insurance, like all these. So they came back and they were excited. They said, yeah, that's amazing. That's going to save us so much time. That's really cool. And we were able to do it in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
That little correction.
Yeah.
So there are little areas where AI is helpful. And I liken it to food, to use a metaphor, to use an example. Whole foods, fruits, vegetables, things that don't have a nutrition label are always going to be the healthiest and best for you. Foods that are completely processed, that are genetically modified, that are not even really food, they're just edible food-like substances, unfortunately are not as good for you. And I look at AI the same way. A little bit of AI in a video is fine, depending on how you're using it, whether it's to correct something that was said in a live filmed interview, or you can also use AI to shorten a music track. Like we've taken, for example, there's a 2-minute music track that we want to use in a marketing video that's only 30 seconds long. We can use AI to shorten it, and it'll make all the necessary cuts on the right beat at the right time to fit it down to 30 seconds. Versus if we just go on ChatGPT and say, create a video for da-da-da, and there's no heart and soul behind it. If it's completely AI generated. And Coca-Cola actually got under fire recently for releasing a completely AI generated ad that was based on their iconic 1985 Christmas Time Is Coming commercial. And consumers hated it. People went online and said, Coca-Cola ruined Christmas. Like there was a whole backlash around it. And so I think a little bit of AI is okay, depending on how you use it and how you frame it. But if we use too much of it, we tempt our own humanity.
Great words here from Maxwell Bentley. Maxwell, I can't resist to ask you one more question before we let you go for today, which is, I'd love it if you could share a success story that helps illustrate the great work you do. I know you've got, speaking of testimonials, plenty of them. So maybe you can share one that helps folks illustrate, or that helps folks understand the great work you do.
I'd be very glad to. I've heard lots, when I talk about social media videos, I've heard little comments here and there. Hey, I started creating content and people are loving it, and people are saying, hey, I watch your videos. And there's lots of little comments that I've heard over the years. However, in terms of my private clients, the folks that I work one-on-one with and help create their video content and edit it, highly professional, crafted marketing videos, there's one little testimonial that stands out, and it was for a health coach. And we ended up creating a success story video, which is a video that tells the story of one of her clients, how she lost a tremendous amount of weight by working with her, changed her diet, changed her lifestyle. And we had her agree to come on video and share her story. And this particular health coach, she didn't have a wait list before. Now, and we did a few other videos for her too, but now she is completely booked out. And when there was actually one time that I shared this particular success story video on one of my own discovery calls with a prospect, just showing it as an example. And the person I was speaking with said, can you give me their contact information? And so I joke with her now. I'm like, listen, you hijacked my discovery call. You know that, right?
I love it. I love it.
But that's just an example of video marketing in action. It's always working for us. And it's when you have a story to tell, you can't afford to not share it and get it seen.
With those words, I think that's the mic drop here. Mic drop moment. Maxwell Bentley from Bentley Media. Maxwell, this has been fantastic, as not surprising, since I've known you for quite a while. Let's give folks the most important information about you, which at this point is where to find you.
Sure. There's 3 ways to work with me. One is I published a book, my first book earlier this year, Video Marketing Secrets.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I share in that book 15 secrets for entrepreneurs and experts on how to stand out, cut through the noise online by using video. You can grab a copy. It was actually recently quoted in Forbes, which is really cool. That you can grab a copy at videomarketingsecrets.com. The second way is if you're in the Atlanta area or you're willing to travel, I host a masterclass series called Video Marketing Live. It's an all-day experience for entrepreneurs, high-level entrepreneurs to come in and just deep dive on camera confidence, video marketing strategy, how to do your own videos, the right products to have, the right tools to have, and also just what really effective and amazing marketing videos look like throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that you can find the next one at videomarketingevents.com. And for those of you who may not be do-it-yourselfers, or maybe you're just someone who says, hey, I just want to take an elevator straight to the top, you can find me at workwithmaxwell.com, and you can reach out to me directly and we can have a conversation.
Maxwell Bentley, Bentley Media. Maxwell, thanks again for coming in. Delighted we could shine the light on the great work you're doing.
The pleasure is absolutely mine. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed talking with you, and thanks for having me back on.
Absolutely. Delighted to do it. Hey, folks, just a couple of quick things before we let you go for today. I have a book out. It's called The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. If you're in the expertise business, if you're a consultant, engineer, CPA, attorney, and you're selling what's between your ears, this book is written for you because it covers issues around value, how to understand your value, express it, how to position yourself, your business development, and your pricing. You can find out more at thegenerositymindset.com and find out where to buy the book, which is essentially everywhere. And folks, I just want to thank you. If you're listening to this show, you're one of my favorite people. And the reason is because you have supported us all these years. We're coming up, next year will be our 9th year of North Fulton Business Radio. And I don't know what I expected when we started this show, but I did not expect to be saying we've been doing this for 9 years. And we have 800, well into 800 episodes of this show. And we have you to thank for that. I have you to thank, and I'm grateful to you for helping us live into our mission to be the voice of business in the North Fulton region and beyond. And you have supported us in so many different ways, that in terms of liking us on social media, sharing the show, sending us great guests, and thank you for that. I'm grateful to you because we couldn't do it without you. So for my guest, Maxwell Bentley, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.